Welcome back to another video. Today I'm gonna be reviewing all the wild card games this weekend. First up with the Texans vs Chargers, and I'm gonna talk about the Chargers because they were favored and they lost bad. Justin Herbert threw one touchdown and four picks. He played terrible. Last playoffs in the second half, he played terrible. Right now, he played terrible. Four picks. Two of them probably weren't his fault, but either way, he threw four picks and one touchdown. He's the reason why they lost the game. At least one of the reasons. The other reason is they couldn't get the run game going, as you can see. Jay Giles had 9 carries for 26 yards. Terrible. And Gus Edwards had 7 carries for 22 yards. They could not get the run game going. And Justin Herbert turned the ball over way too much. But there's one bright spot in all the terribleness of this game. Lad McConkey had 9 catches, 197 yards, and a touchdown. He showed that he's obviously one of the best receivers in the NFL. So that's a big deal for Lad. He's the only person who came to play on this Chargers offense, it seemed like, today. Other players had a bunch of drops. Will Disley and Quentin Johnston. So, and the Chargers defense wasn't great either. I mean, I don't know what you want them to do when your quarterback throws that many picks, but what's it called? Khalil Mack had 2 sacks. Joey Rose had a sack. So they had 3 sacks. They played all right. Now the Texans. Look at them. So the Texans, they played great on defense. CJ Stroud played fine. He played calm under pressure. He threw a pick. He threw a touchdown. Last time all, he had great reads. Went 22 for 33. Great. Above 50% completion percentage. Joe Mixon had 25 carries, 106 yards, and one touchdown. What you want him to do on the ground? So yeah, they had a very efficient day on offense. They didn't have to be insane because the defense forced all these turnovers. Their pass rush is real. People thought the Chargers pass rush was going to be great this game because of the bad offensive line. It didn't matter what the offensive line of the Chargers was. This pass rush was getting there. They had 4 picks, like we saw, and Will Anderson played an insanely good game. He deserves a lot of credit. Uh, and Mario Edwards, he also played a great game. And they were great on one defense. The Chargers could not run the ball either. The Texans played a great game against the Chargers when the Chargers really needed it on offense. They couldn't get it because of this Texans defense. All right, is the Steelers Ravens. They played after the Chargers Bills, and the Ravens. Let's talk about them first this time, because let's talk about the winning team this time first, and the more impressive team. More thing to talk about, because the Steelers didn't do much on offense. Lamar Jackson only had to throw it 21 times. That's you want. You know, when could have throwing it that much. He had 176 yards and 2 touchdowns passing, very efficient. He like 16 and 15, so but he had like the same amount of carries as he did completions. 15 rushes for 51 yards. The Ravens figured out that Lamar Jackson, he's a good passer. He's one of the best passing QBs. He's top 10 passing. But where his real strategy is, where you could really use him, is in the run game. He had 81 yards on the ground. Derrick Henry had 186 yards. They had over 200 rushing yards this game. Great performance by both these people, by Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. They ran it. This is what they have to do the whole playoff, just run the ball. And Lamar Jackson just has to not turn the ball over, which he's good at. Alright, so like we said, he didn't do much passing. He had 176 yards. Isaiah Likely had 53 on 3 catches. He played good. Mark Andrews, this was really a passing downfield. Obviously, it wasn't downfield. The two tight ends had the most yards, 5, and only 4 catches were from receivers. Unless if Anthony Miller is a receiver. I've never heard of him. So if Anthony Miller is a receiver, they had 8 catches from receivers. So yeah, obviously they just wanted to run the ball, which they did. The Steelers are a really good offense, so they could just control the ball. So yeah, I like what the Ravens did. This is what they have to do the whole playoffs. Last season they tried to get cute and throw the ball too much. You can't do that. And this defense is coming into form. They had 5 sacks, which is great, especially when you're playing an offense like a team like the Steelers who want to play good defense and be efficient on offense. Well, if you're sacking them 5 times, they can't be efficient on offense. So I like that. Now let's look at the Steelers. The Steelers had 270 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson didn't play the worst game. He had 20 plays for 29 yards. But the problem was they couldn't run the ball. Ravens obviously have had a great defense the whole year on running against the run. And this season, this year, this what's it called? This game was no different. 6 carries for 17 yards, 2 carries for 6 yards, and Ross obviously is a quarterback. They could not run the ball this year. They need to rely on Russell Wilson's and also they buried themselves deep. It was 21-0. So they couldn't even try to stick with the run game. The run game wasn't working in the first place. So the Ravens went to an early lead and just ran out the clock. They played great. The Steelers tried to make it look interesting at one point. George Pickens played good. He had a few drops that weren't great, but overall he had a good game. And he had Najee Harris had 3 catches, 41 yards. They had to just throw the ball. They used screens because their downfield attack, other than George Pickens, isn't great. So yeah, the Ravens won. And the Steelers look good. On to the next game. Okay, the Bills vs Broncos game. Once again, I'll go over the stats. I'm gonna start with the Broncos this time because the first half, the only touchdown Bo Nix had this game was the was the first touchdown of the game and came on the first drive of the game. It was like his third pass of the game. Got a touchdown. They sort of strong the Broncos. They were up 7-0, and then I think 7-3, and then the Bills had 10 points before the end of half. The Broncos missed a field goal, and then after that, the Bills started to dominate. So let's look at the stats. Bo Nix, like I said, 144 yards and 1 touchdown. Half of that and the touchdown all came on the first drive of the game. So it showed you that the Bills defense had locked in after they're like, oh, we're getting cooked by Bo Nix. Now the Bills' run defense was great against the running backs. Quarterbacks a little different. You don't expect a quarterback run. Bo Nix had some success on the ground, but obviously it's not sustainable. So, but the running backs couldn't do anything on the ground. They were already down, and I don't know why they went away from the run because at the beginning of the second half you're only down by 3, and then I think the Bills might have scored. You're only down by 10. You could still run the ball, but the Bills, when they ran the ball, stopped them too. But I would have staked to it even more if I was the Broncos. Okay, now Colin Sutton had the big game to start off the game, 75 yards. He had a nice post for 20 yards. Then he had a good game. Troy Franklin obviously had the big time touchdown. Really was his only meaningful catch. Then other than that, no one else did much. So yeah, the Broncos obviously on an explosive offense. The defense didn't play terrible. They had 2 sacks. At the beginning, they didn't play terrible. Then Josh Allen just said, "You're cook. I'm gonna cook you now." And Josh Allen, obviously 7-31. But the game was close at first. The only points the Broncos scored, like I said, was literally the first drive with 4 plays. Then the Bills just started dominating, started running the ball, started playing keep away football in the second half. Because it was 7-10. It was 7-10 at halftime. Then the Bills blew that up. Josh Allen had 2 touchdowns passing, 20 for 26, 272 yards. He had a great QB performance. Probably the best so far that we looked at in the wild card. He had the most yards, the best completion percentage, and the same amount of touchdowns as most of the QBs. So James Cook, 23 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Played great. He had one of his best games of the season in the playoffs. That's what you want. Right, running. And then Josh Allen, 8 carries, 46 yards. He was used as a power back. And on like third down, Ty Johnson, he they use him in spots. He's obviously not the best running back, but in spots he could be great, and he's used in clutch moments. He's caught a touchdown to give them a bigger lead in the second half, which kind of ended the game for the Broncos. Then receiving, obviously, what's his face, Curtis Samuel. He hasn't been insanely involved in the offense throughout the year, but other than the beginning of the season, but this playoff game, he had his best game in a little bit. 68 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches, the best game of any receiver. And yeah, he had one big game. So yeah, he played pretty good. Very good. Khalil Shakir was just a dump off a slot receiver. Most of these guys are slot receivers. Colton Curtis Samuel obviously can play little outside. But yeah, Khalil Shakir just caught the ball on slants and stuff. The tight ends were used. Ty Johnson caught the big touchdown, like I said. So yeah, the Bills played an efficient game. They didn't have to do much because the Broncos kind of sold the bag for themselves and couldn't do anything on offense. So they just started running the ball. So yeah, on to the next game. Okay, the Packers Eagles game. And I'm gonna start off with Jordan Love. Jordan Love from the Packers, obviously. He didn't have his best game. A lot of his receivers got out. Christian Watson was already out. Romeo Dobbs got out early in the game, I think, like on the first play or something. And then later in the game, Jaden Reed got injured. So he really had nobody to throw to. You know, he was reckless with the ball. He had 3 picks, 0 touchdowns, 212 yards. And yeah, he he wasn't great, but I sort of blame him. So passing, he wasn't obviously great, like I just said, and he did the best he could. But running the ball, Josh Jacobs played great. He had his best, one of the best games. He just played like Josh Jacobs. He played exactly how I think Josh Jacobs played. I think this is his second playoff game in his career. He's been on the Raiders. They might have made playoffs once since he's been on the team. And yeah, 1 touchdown, 18 carries, 81 yards. He scored that touchdown and put him back in the game, but it was too little, too late. And also Matt LaFleur. This is what I'm talking about a coach. I didn't like the play calls Matt LaFleur did. He should have had better play calls on 3rd and 3 when you need the force down. He called a run play, which you could say hindsight 2020. When he called it, I'm like, this is a bad play. Before I knew what the outcome was gonna be. I just don't, especially with your backup running back. It wasn't like Josh Jacobs you had out there. You had Manuel Wilson, so didn't like that. But it is what it is. Then they threw it on 4th down and didn't get it, obviously. And then Jaden Reed, all these they Jordan Love spread the ball out because like people got injured. Jaden Reed got injured, but he was the main target before. Jaden Reed got injured. Jordan Love loved throwing to him. Then he got injured in like the start of the second half. Sad because I think they were having a rhythm, and it looks like they were gonna like score some points. Then he gets injured, which I think they scored points in that drive, but it killed the rest of the game. And then Josh Jacobs, just a bunch of people. Tyler Cook, Tucker Craft, Devon Wicks, and then the defense played very good. Uh, they, I know the Eagles scored 22 points. 7 of those were off fumbled kick return and a bunch of field goals. So yeah, but let's look at the Eagles now. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts had 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Like once again, efficient game, like them all. He missed on some things. The Eagles defense really did play good against him, and the Packers defense played good enough to where the Eagles should have, so where the Packers should have won with that insane effort. Most of the game it was 10-0 because the Packers couldn't do anything on offense. Then they scored three. Then the Eagles scored three. Then the Packers scored seven. It was 10-13, and the Eagles went down and scored. It was just the Packers started scoring too late. The defense was worn out. Saquon Barkley, he finished the game 25 carries, 119 yards. He played good. If you watch the game, it was a quiet 119 yards, as quiet as it could be. He had that. If he finished that one run, this would have been an insane game. It was still an insane game from Saquon. Saquon, when he needed him, they used him, but he didn't have that big explosive play. He almost had it. He slid to win the game. So I'm not talking about his stats. His stats were great, and they should have been better. And you can count that as better because he was probably going to score a touchdown. But he the Eagles did a good enough job. Sorry, the Packers did a good enough job to stop him where they could have won. So yeah, and Jalen Hurts ran a little bit. Kenny Gainwell really had one significant carry for like 7 yards. Devontae Smith had 4 catches, 55 yards. He played good. Him and Dallas Goedert really were the only receiving options they used. The Packers shut down AJ Brown, which is they did a great job. Had him reading books on the sideline. But what's he called? And then Devontae Smith, efficient game on fourth. They hit like 2 conversions on third down. He didn't drop any passes. Dallas Goedert just it was they had 10 points. The Eagles. I think the Packers had like 7 or 3. Then they were 30 yards away from the end zone. He stiff armed a guy, ran him. He should have got tackled. He ran for 20 extra yards for a touchdown with the guy on one arm and the ball in the other. It was crazy. That was a great play, and he won it for the Eagles with his efforts at the end of the game. And Jahan Dotson had the touchdown off the fumbled punt return, which in hindsight, that's a huge play. If that doesn't happen, actually have a better chance of winning, but it did happen. And now the Eagles won. And on defense, I know I said the Packers played like terrible on offense, which they did, but on defense, the Eagles were batting down passes. Their pass rush was getting there. And yeah, the Eagles played great on defense. Had 3 picks, obviously. He was jumping on balls. Darius Slay got injured, but he had a pick. And yeah, Zach Bond got a pick because Jordan Love, that was a bad throw. So what's he called? They won. Now, on to the next game, the final game. Welcome back to the last team. The Commanders and the Bucks played, and the Commanders beat the Bucks. Like I said, I was wrong about the Packers. They lost to the Philadelphia Shitters. Eagles, my fault. And what was the other one? Oh, I thought the Chargers were going to beat the Texans, but a lot of people did. A lot of people thought the Chargers might beat the Texans. In my defense. So this is the last game. I was right about this. Jaden Daniels. We'll talk about the Commanders first. Commanders had a great game. I'll talk about how great they were and they won. Jaden Daniels, 24 for 35, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. A great game for a rookie. And this is his first year ever playing NFL. Well, obviously, because he's a rookie. I'm just reiterating myself. But what's it called? He played great. He had a great game. On the ground, he was his team's leading rusher. Like Josh Allen, when his team needed the most, that's when he ran the ball. 13 carries, 36 yards. Played great. On third down, he ran the ball. And he needed to because Brian Robinson Jr. didn't play that good. And I love Brian Robinson Jr., but we got it. We can't with 10 carries with only 16 yards. He was very physical. When they needed a yard or two, he got it. And that Commanders' offensive line is terrible. That's why Austin Eckler only averaged 3 yards per carry. The run game wasn't working, so Jay Daniels do it. They had quick pass game. That's what they needed because the run game wasn't working. Diami Brown, one of the best games since career, 5 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Great on 5 targets. He made the most of his opportunity, and now he's gonna have an opportunity next season probably to fight for the number 2 receiver position on that team because Noah Brown's on a 1-year deal. Scary Terry, 89 yards, 7 catches, 1 touchdown. He also played good, and that's what you need. Your best players to play good like Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels. So that was the offense. Those 2 players. Austin Eckler had a screen. Zach Ertz had a catch, and yeah, just not much else other than those 2, but other people helped, and their defense played gritty. They didn't have sacks. The defense isn't like world beaters, but they played hard on the ball, and that's what you want. The coverage wasn't great, but when the Bucks tried to run the ball, they couldn't, and they played a lot of like effort, even though not the best. So let's talk about the Bucks. Baker Mayfield had 2 touchdowns, 186 yards, 16 for 18. He didn't play bad. Uh, he didn't play bad. He played okay for losing the game. I mean, I don't want to say he played great because they lost, but it wasn't his fault they lost. What's it called? Bucky Orban, 17 carries, 77 yards. He played okay. Wasn't insane, but he wasn't bad. So yeah. Mike Evans, 7 catches, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. This is where, like the run game, the Commanders played gritty on the run game, and that's why Bucky Orban only had 77 yards. The pass game, Marshawn Lattimore might be washed. Usually, Mike Evans and him go back and forth. This was no back and forth. This is Mike Evans, Mike Evans, Mike Evans. He had 92 yards and a touchdown and 7 catches. I think that's probably the best receiver performance in this wild card. Oh, sorry, Lamar Conkey, but they lost, so it tainted. But yeah, he probably had the best. So other than Mike Evans, not much else on offense. Jay McMillan had like a big deep pass, which was good. Kate Auden had a catch. So yeah, really, they missed Chris Godwin. If they had Chris Godwin, their offense would score more points and probably win. So yeah, and their defense, 1 sack. It was fine. Obviously, the Commanders didn't score all these points. They've had great run defense. Kalijah Kancey played great. Vita Veda played great. But Jaden Daniels just showed that he's one of the best quarterbacks and outplayed the Bucks. The Bucks had a good game, but the Commanders brought their A game, and it was 23-20, the best game of Wild Card Weekend so far. Now there's one more game left. I'll review that game and all the other games on Tuesday. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and have a nice night. And like, share, and tell your friends if you like the video. Goodbye.